Hello everyone, myself Vinay Kumaram. I'm actually pursuing PhD in physics. So in this particular YouTube channel, I'll be teaching physics, chemistry and mathematics starting from 8th standard till 12th standard. So if you want to learn physics, chemistry and mathematics, then please do subscribe to my channel and stay tuned with my channel. So in my previous videos, I was explaining the first three chapters of 9th standard science subject. So in those three chapters, you have learnt about matter, you have learnt about different kinds of matter and also properties of matter, and you have also learnt in the third chapter that matter is made up of atoms and molecules. So now you have an idea about matter and you also have an idea about atoms and molecules. So coming to this particular video here, this is actually the fourth chapter of 9th standard science subject, that is structure of atom. So now you have learnt about atoms. So in this particular chapter, you will be learning what are all the things which are present in the atoms. Are atoms really indivisible, which we actually discussed in Dalton's atomic theory in previous chapter. So we will discuss what and all things are there inside atom and how those subatomic particles which are present inside atom and how these subatomic particles are arranged in a certain manner inside an atom. So all these concepts you will be learning in this particular chapter 4. So now, before starting this particular chapter, we had learnt that atoms are indivisible in Dalton's atomic theory. So in Dalton's atomic theory, we learned that atoms are indivisible and atoms are the final particle of a particular matter. So now, are really atoms indivisible? This is one question which can arise after seeing some experimental observations. And one more doubt which we can have is that different elements have different property. So we know that each and every element is made up of atoms. Atoms of individual elements have different chemical characteristics. So for example, if you consider atom of lithium, that has different chemical property. If you consider atom of a bromine element, then atoms which are there in bromine element will have different chemical property. Like that, if you consider any element which is there in the periodic table, every element is made up of their respective atoms and all these atoms of different elements have different chemical characteristics. How is this possible? What is there inside atoms which make properties different? So for example, if you consider carbon atom and if you consider oxygen atom, so here carbon is also an atom, oxygen is also an atom, but carbon characteristics are different, oxygen characteristics are different. Both are made up of atoms, but both these atoms have different nature. Both these atoms have different characteristics. How is this possible? So there is something fundamental change inside an atom. So something might be there inside atom which is actually different for different atoms. So that's why each and every element which are made up of atoms, these atoms are different in chemical characteristics. So if you consider atom of carbon and if you consider atom of oxygen, these two atoms have different chemical nature. If atoms are not indivisible, then how two different elements have two different atoms which are having different chemical characteristics? Fundamentally inside an atom something should be there which make these particular atoms unique for that particular element. So to understand all these things, we will be learning different concepts which are there in this particular chapter. So if you refer my 8th standard science videos, there I have actually explained about certain activities. So for example, if you comb your hair, so let's say this is a comb and you are actually combing your hair. And if you comb your hair and after that if you place some paper pieces on table and if you bring this comb near these paper pieces, these paper pieces will be attracted towards this particular comb. So how is this possible? So in this activity, you can see that there is some kind of attractive force which is taking place between comb and the paper pieces. So there we actually discussed about electrostatic force. So because of this particular electrostatic force, there is a kind of electrostatic attraction between the comb and the paper pieces. So here there is interaction of some subatomic particles. Comb has some charge on it. So because that particular comb has some charge on it, that can attract some neutral objects like paper pieces. So where did this charge actually originated on this particular comb? So what is the reason for this comb to get charged? So that means there should be something present inside an atom which is actually responsible for this. Because clearly you can see that there is some kind of charge accumulation is taking place on the surface of comb. So from where did this particular charge came from? And also when you look at electricity, which was discovered long back before discovering about subatomic particles, there we can easily see conduction of electricity is taking place. So what is responsible for the conduction of electricity? Because we know in an electrical circuit, no parts of electrical circuit will be in continuous motion. But still you can observe that current is flowing through that particular circuit. So what are those which are carrying this particular electricity? So here the flow of electrons are responsible for the flow of electric current in that particular circuit. Then what are all these electrons? So electrons are basically charged particles inside an atom. So these electrons are negatively charged, which was actually discovered by J.J. Thomson. So this particular scientist J.J. Thomson, through his experimental observations, he concluded that there is negatively charged particles which are present inside an atom. And this particular subatomic particle which is present inside an atom was named as electron. And these electrons are actually responsible for the conduction of electricity in a particular circuit. So when there is an electron flow from negative end of a particular circuit to the positive end of that particular circuit, current, because of overbuilt potential near positive terminal of the circuit, there will be current flow taking place from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. So always you should remember electron flow from negative to positive and current flows from positive to negative. If you want explanation of this also it is there in my 8th standard science videos. There you can actually find explanation for all those things. But here in this particular case we were actually discussing that atoms are indivisible. Atoms cannot be divided. But now we are actually getting to know that there is some subatomic particle present inside atom. That means atoms are not the final particle of a particular matter. Inside atoms also there are subatomic particles. Similarly, there was one more scientist named Goldstein. So electrons were discovered in the year 1900, and before that itself in 1886 Goldstein did an experiment known as canal ray experiment. So in that particular canal ray, he actually took a cathode ray tube and made a porous structure of cathode, and the gas which was filled was ionized. So what do you mean by ions? Ions are basically positively or negatively charged chemical species. So here by supplying high voltage to this particular cathode ray tube, the gas which was present in that particular cathode ray tube was ionized. There was a continuous flow of electron beam from this particular cathode. So during the flow of this particular electron beam, he observed that there was a slight weaker radiation which was actually in the opposite direction to this particular electron beam, and that confirmed that the gas which has got ionized inside this particular cathode ray tube is positively charged, because when the electron beam is flowing inside that particular cathode ray tube, there are some weak rays which are actually flowing in the opposite direction of that particular electron beam. So that particular opposite rays which are actually generated is due to the positively charged ions. So this actually proved that the gas which has got ionized inside the cathode ray tube are positively charged. So this actually proved that there is positively charged particles present inside an atom. And this particular weaker rays which was actually flowing in the opposite direction to the electric beam which was there inside the cathode ray tube. So these rays were named as canal rays. So that's why this particular experiment is also known as canal ray experiment. Since the direction of this rays is opposite to electron beam, it confirmed that the gas particles which has got ionized inside this cathode ray tubes are positively charged. So in general, electrons are represented as E minus and protons are represented as P plus. And experimentally it was proved that the mass of electron and proton, if you compare the mass of electron and proton, then proton mass is nearly 2000 times more than the mass of electron. So mass of electrons, then that particular mass of electrons is less than 2000 times, almost 2000 times less than proton mass, or you can say it as protons are heavier subatomic particles compared to electrons. And if you consider the charge of protons and electrons, then charge of both electron and proton are equal in magnitude and opposite in sign. That is, this particular protons are positively charged and electrons are negatively charged, but the magnitude of charge of both electron and proton are equal to each other, and hence there will be net neutral charge present on an atom. So the name of this particular chapter is structure of atom. So what do you mean by structure of atom? How the subatomic particles inside an atom are arranged. So to understand that, there were various theories, there was various models and experimental observations which actually gave us an idea about structure of an atom. The further concepts which are there in this particular chapter will be discussed in next subsequent videos. So this is all there in this particular video. So if you want to learn more physics, chemistry and mathematics like this starting from 8th standard till 12th standard, then you have to subscribe to my channel. Please do subscribe to my channel and stay tuned with my channel. Thank you.